I know goddamn well Trump didn't think that we were finna get back in the motherfucking fields.
Okay, I get it now. So the black jobs that Trump was talking about on his campaign were in the field and on the farm, right? So he thought we were going to take those jobs, because we all know what he meant when he said the people from the inner city. We know that meant black people. I mean, there was no point in sugarcoating it. We knew exactly what he meant.
So did you hear that Trump pulled out a racist trope from the era of American slavery when talking about undocumented workers? Yeah, he was being interviewed on CNBC when he said this about people from Central and South America working on American farms.
These people do it naturally. Naturally. They don't get a bad back, because if they get a bad back, they die.
These people do it naturally. That's precisely what slaveholders said about enslaved African Americans to justify slavery. They claimed the natural place of African Americans in the world was to be enslaved because they naturally had lower intelligence and naturally had bodies that could withstand hard labor, long hours, infectious diseases, and extreme heat. Or as Trump put it, they could be worked almost to death and, quote, they don't get a bad back. According to enslavers, black people occupied a position in the natural order that was a notch or two above livestock, but well below the status of white people. That's clearly how Trump sees the largely Latino workforce laboring on American farms. But Trump wasn't done with the racism. He made it clear that in his ideal world, black Americans would be the ones laboring in those fields. But alas.
You know, people that live in the inner city are not doing that work. They're just not doing that work. And they've tried, we've tried, everybody tried. They don't do it.
There you have it. Those inner city black people should be doing the farm labor. But according to Trump, they're just too lazy. As he put it, we, white people, have tried everything, but they, black people, refuse to work. So much racism in just a few sentences. And the eggs, still expensive.
Yeah, so imagine fighting tooth and nail to deport the very people who keep America's dinner plates full, only to admit years later that they were naturally built for the job. Well, that's exactly the plot twist Donald Trump just served up. So today we dive into the surprising new stance on migrant farm workers, our 90-degree turn from his hardline deportation days, and why US farms are now crying out for the very labor force they once helped push out. Buckle up, because this is one story where politics, economics, and reality collide in the most ironic way possible.
So Donald Trump, not in these exact words, but basically admitted this week that a lot of the things that he's been doing, a lot of the policies, a lot of the executive orders that he's been signing off on was all made with the intention of getting black people back into the field. It was made with the intention of getting black people back into the field. All right, so on Tuesday, Donald Trump made an appearance, right, on CNBC's Squawk Box. And on that platform, he actually made a lot of commentary in regards to the situation with the deportations, migrant workers, the state of America's agriculture, and he made comments on inner city people not doing farm work. I want you to always remember that when they mention inner city, that means black. In Donald Trump's exact words, people that live in the inner city are not doing that work. They've tried. We've tried. Everybody tried. They don't do it. These people do it naturally. Naturally. They don't get a bad back, because if they get a bad back, they die. He also went on to say that they are very, very, very special people and they cannot be easily replaced. Remember what I said, anytime that they mention the words inner city people, inner city communities, inner city neighborhoods, that's black. That's code for black. Black, blackity black, okay? Black people. And it is because of that exact commentary that it reconfirms for me, okay? Not confirms, but reconfirms, meaning that I already knew. But it reconfirms that the plan from the very beginning with these executive orders, right, was to further destabilize black communities, further destabilize poor communities, but black mainly, so that you could put pressure on these communities so that you could get them to go back into the field, right? And then once you get them back in the field, bingo, you've made America great again. Modernize slavery. But black people said, fuck you and this little game that you want to play. Since we are the most valuable player on the scoreboard, we will remove ourselves and let's see if this game is still going to continue. And that's in fact what we're seeing right now. Donald Trump thought that by forcing all of these other people out, taking away our Medicaid, doing all of these things to further destabilize our community, that we would conform, that we would just do what he wants us to do, what the whites of this world, what white supremacy wants us to do. But black people decided to pull a Uno reverse and they did nothing, which is something that they're not used to black people doing. They're used to black people having this spirit of rebellion, having this spirit of revolution. But instead, black people decided that, you know what, I'm going to preserve my energy for me and my people, but I'm also going to remove myself from this game entirely.
So Trump finally did it. He finally said it out loud. He went on CNBC and said that undocumented immigrants are naturally better at farm labor than other people. Not trained, not experienced, not hardworking, naturally. He's admitting that the same people that his immigration policies are targeting, the ones that he wants detained, deported, and banned, they're the backbone of the farming industry. He says you can't replace them, that inner city people aren't doing the work. Inner city people. Okay. And that these workers just do it naturally. What? I want you to sit with that for a second, because that's not just a bad take. It's a racialized idea that some people are biologically made to labor, while others are made to lead. That's outdated logic. And he said it on national television like it was some sort of compliment. And meanwhile, he's promising new rules to help farmers deal with labor shortages, not because he wants to protect workers. He doesn't even mention them. He's worried about the crops, about the industry, about the people who benefit from it, not the ones who break their backs doing the actual work. He even tells a story where a farmer said, if I get a bad back, then they die. And followed it up with that's interesting, isn't it? No, it's not. There's nothing interesting about watching somebody normalize exploitation. There's nothing natural about a system that needs somebody to suffer in order for it to function. What he's describing is not immigration reform. It's just another version of the same old hierarchy, where labor is expected, pain is ignored, and humanity is optional.
Yeah, so Donald Trump's political brand has always been with strong immigration enforcement, especially the deportation of undocumented workers. But in a recent statement, the president admitted something that would have been unthinkable in his rallies speeches, that migrant laborers are naturally suited for farm work and that the agricultural industry desperately needs them. And this unexpected acknowledgement comes against a backdrop of U.S. farms struggling with severe labor shortages. Fields are going unharvested, crops are rotting in the sun, farmers are losing millions. And the irony is, many of these same farms relied heavily on migrant workers, particularly from Mexico and even Central America, to do the grueling, backbreaking labor that most Americans simply won't take. And also, in his recent remarks, Trump painted a picture of a nation where farms are the lifeblood of the economy, yet face collapse without migrant hands. So he even went as far as praising their work ethic, noting that they possess skills and even endurance that are second nature for agricultural work. So coming from the man who once vowed mass deportations and built political momentum on the idea of keeping migrants out, it's a shift that has left both supporters and even critics very shocked, because farm owners have been raising the alarm for years on years. According to even the agricultural labor reports, up to 50% of the American farm's workforce is made up of undocumented migrants. And even removing them from the labor force was like pulling out the foundation of a building. And the collapse was definitely inevitable. And the post-deportation labor shortage didn't just hit the farms. It drove up food prices nationwide, and even consumers now feel it every time they check out of the grocery store. And this change in tone from Trump may be politically strategic, as many say, or a way to appeal to both hardline supporters and even industries desperate for solutions. It's also an admission of a deeper reality. And even immigration isn't just about politics, it's about the backbone of the America's economy. So critics have pointed out the hypocrisy. How can a leader go from championing deportations to endorsing the very workforce he once was against? And supporters argue it's simply an evolution in understanding that Trump is adapting to the needs of America as they stand today. But for many migrant workers, the words are bittersweet. While they are recognized as naturally suited for the work, the recognition comes after years of being cast as unexpendable. So this shift also raises broader questions. Will Trump propose new migrant labor programs if elected again? Will there be pathways for undocumented workers to gain legal status in exchange for filing labor shortages? Or will this be another political soundbite that fades when campaign season ends? One thing is clear for sure, the US agricultural sector is at crossroads, and without migrant labor, it faces a slow death. And whether you agree or disagree with Trump's politics, his latest comments shine a spotlight on an uncomfortable truth that America's farms, and by extension its food supply, are deeply tied to the very immigration policies that have long divided the nation.